Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events from around the world. I'm your host, Walter, and I'm glad you're joining us today. As we begin this episode, we want to take a closer look at a recent meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa at the White House. The meeting was intended to discuss trade and economic relations between the two countries, but it took an unexpected turn when President Trump brought up the topic of farm murders in South Africa. President Trump has been known to tweet about the issue, citing false statistics and misinformation about the number of white farmers being killed in South Africa. During the meeting, he repeated these claims, despite being corrected by President Ramaphosa and other members of the South African delegation. What's interesting is that this narrative of white persecution in South Africa has been debunked by fact-checkers and experts, yet it continues to be perpetuated by some right-wing groups and media outlets. It's a complex issue, with roots in the country's history of apartheid and ongoing struggles with land reform and economic inequality. We also want to note that President Ramaphosa's delegation included several white South African businessmen and golfers who were seemingly brought along to help diffuse tensions and build relationships with the U.S. president. However, their presence has been criticized by some as tone-deaf and insensitive to the complexities of South Africa's history and politics. As we explore this story further, we'll be examining the implications of President Trump's comments and actions, as well as the reactions from South Africa and the international community. We'll also be looking at the broader context of US-South Africa relations and the potential consequences for trade, diplomacy, and global cooperation. We strive to bring you balanced and nuanced reporting on Concrete Block, and we invite you to join us as we delve into this complex and multifaceted story. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into the latest news from around the world. In our previous segment, we explored some fascinating stories that caught our attention. Now, let's move on to our middle segment, where we'll be discussing two recent articles that shed light on the current state of international relations and economic trends. Firstly, a report from the Moscow Times highlights the significant surge in prices of borscht ingredients in Russia, with some items experiencing an astonishing 87% increase. This phenomenon is largely attributed to external pressures and government expenditure, which have led to rising inflation rates in the country. It's essential to acknowledge that economic fluctuations can have far-reaching consequences, affecting not only the Russian economy, but also its citizens' daily lives. In another story, an Italian judge has sentenced a Russian businessman, Dmitry Chirakadze, to 3 years and 2 months in prison for his alleged involvement in helping Artyom USS, the son of a former Russian governor, escape from Italy while facing extradition to the United States. This incident raises questions about international cooperation, law enforcement, and the complexities of diplomatic relationships. As we examine these stories, it's crucial to consider multiple perspectives and avoid jumping to conclusions. The interconnectedness of global events demands a nuanced understanding of the underlying factors at play. By analyzing these developments through a balanced lens, we can gain a deeper insight into the intricate web of international relations and economic trends that shape our world. As we take a brief pause before moving on to our final story, let's reflect on the significance of staying informed about global events and their potential impact on our lives. It's essential to engage with diverse sources, evaluate information critically, and strive for a comprehensive understanding of the complex issues that surround us. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to delve into a pressing international issue that's been making headlines lately: the ongoing crisis in Gaza. The situation on the ground remains dire, with thousands of people displaced and in desperate need of aid. According to recent reports, The United Nations has been working tirelessly to deliver much-needed supplies to the affected areas. However, their efforts have been hindered by various challenges, including fears of looting and restrictions imposed by the Israeli military. Despite these obstacles, the UN has managed to get some aid into Gaza, with convoys of lorries carrying food and other essential items making their way into the territory. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced a new plan to deliver aid to Gaza, which aims to address the pressing humanitarian needs of the Palestinian population. The plan involves working with international organizations to ensure that aid reaches those who need it most. However, some critics have raised concerns about the potential for aid to be diverted or used as a political tool. It's essential to approach this issue with nuance and understanding, recognizing the complexities and sensitivities involved. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a deeply entrenched and multifaceted issue, with both sides having legitimate concerns and needs. As we strive to stay informed about this crisis, it's crucial to seek out diverse perspectives and rely on credible sources of information. As we close out today's episode, I want to emphasize the importance of empathy and understanding in navigating international conflicts, like the one in Gaza. The one in Gaza. By engaging with different viewpoints and staying up to date on developments, we can work towards a more informed and compassionate discourse. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay informed.